Recently, here on YouTube, I started watching reviews for individual episodes of the Doctor Who series, specifically from the new Who, 2005 and onward. And one of the reviews I watched was for the episode Boomtown from season 1, featuring Christopher Eccleston's Ninth Doctor. And when I scrolled down into the comments just to see what people were saying, I found a comment that said, "I always loved the line, 'You're begging for mercy with a dead woman's lips.' And that line could have been so iconic, but Christopher Eccleston skimmed past it to get to the next line. He chose smooth acting over iconography." This comment does not surprise me at all. Actually, no, it does, because I'm sitting here going, how do you expect him to deliver that line? I've attempted to record this video a couple times, and I've just been wondering as I do, how could he have delivered that line in a way that could have been more iconic? I really don't understand what they think he could have done. On the other hand, I'm sitting there going, why would anyone in their right mind choose focusing on one line to make it stand out rather than smooth acting? Because the moment you do that, you ruin the storytelling of the scene and the episode itself. And I do wonder, how did we get to this point? How did we get to a point where we are so focused on iconography, where we are so focused on the one line, the one image, or whatever that stands out? How did we become so focused on that we've lost, that we lose track of storytelling itself? Why? I really don't understand this, and it's, the more I think about it, the more it baffles me. What happened that we lost track of this? Now, to be clear, I've studied storytelling for 20 years. I was 9 or 10 when I first started reading books on writing so I could improve my own writing. And to be clear, I'm certainly not saying I'm the best writer, but I am a good writer because I learned how storytelling worked, because I studied my craft. And I feel too often nowadays I see people who are so caught up in just, it's so microscopic. They get focused on one detail that they don't stop and appreciate that storytelling and what makes one iconic moment work, what makes someone care about it, is the storytelling around it. The moment you try to make this one detail stand out from everything else, you ruin the fabric of the story. And actually, that's a great example. So if you imagine that a story is a piece of fabric, it's a tapestry, and let's say there's one thread. It's a color that you just really like, and you want that one thread to stand out. So you pick at it, and you pull it out, so it'll stand above the rest. You've just ruined the tapestry. You've created a tear, essentially. And when you do that, when you try to draw focus to that one thing, it breaks immersion for the audience, and they become so focused on that one, they're going to feel like you're smacking them upside the head and that you're insulting them. Because if you have a good line, if you have a good thesis, if you have anything that stands out and is worthy of attention, it will. But the stuff around it still matters, and you cannot go cheap on the stuff around it to pour all your attention and try to focus your audience's attention on that one thing. Your audience will feel insulted that you couldn't let them find it on their own. It's like having an Easter egg hunt, but instead of just hiding the eggs in the grass, you put red markers all along, just so the kids will find all of them. Because heaven forbid you let them hunt for it on their own. Recently on a stream, I went off on Steven Universe and some of my frustrations with that series. And one thing I brought up is the writing advice: kill your darlings. Now, what this means is sometimes you will write something that is absolutely brilliant. You will love it. And you will sit there going, this is one of the best lines I've ever written. But, it's very important. You have to be able to sit back and go, yeah, this is incredible, but does it serve the story? Does it actually benefit my story? And recently, I was watching another video on Disney's Atlantis: The Lost Empire, and how they had an entire first scene written, storyboarded, and voiced, and they were working on animating it. And it was supposed to be about Vikings finding the shepherd's journal. But one day, one of the writers said, okay, I know we're almost done with this scene, but what if? What if instead we did this other opening scene? And as cool as the Vikings and the shepherd's journal scene sounds, and what I've seen, it was a pretty cool scene. The emotional scene they gave us instead, with Kida and her mother and the actual fall of Atlantis, was so much more powerful. And it was much better storytelling because it gave us a connection to what would come later. It foreshadowed the the climactic event. It's so frustrating when I see creators who are so focused on, and getting back to what I said about Steven Universe, Rebecca Sugar clearly seemed to be struck by any flight of fancy, and she would turn her whole ship around just to pursue a shimmer on the water. She would have an idea, like, oh, I want to do this. Oh, I want to do that. And immediately she would throw herself into it, she and her team. And the problem was, did it serve the story? This is how Steven Universe ended up with such a fractured situation. This is how Steven Universe ended up so fractured, and there's so much filler, and the story just stops and goes on hold for episodes at a time while you focus on Beach City or this one random character. Is it an interesting idea? Maybe. But does it serve your story? You cannot sacrifice your story just because you had one random idea that you thought would be cool. Especially if it's something that you end up turning around and retconning because you didn't think through the consequences of your actions and how it would affect your story overall. I don't expect audiences to understand fully what goes into the intricacies of storytelling. I don't expect them to understand what each scene does for a story. But as the writer, as the creator, you absolutely need to understand that every scene in your story needs to serve a purpose for moving that story forward. Every scene needs to contribute something. If it doesn't, then it's wasting space and your audience will get bored and they will leave. This is why it's so important to keep your writing tight. Recently, after the WandaVision finale last night, I saw a tweet where someone said, I wish Monica and Wanda had had more screen time together. And I'm left going, okay, but where? The WandaVision series, while it certainly isn't perfect, it's a very well written and constructed series in my opinion. I know a few people thought it was slow, especially around episode 3, but I think it worked really well. And if you stopped just to give a random character interaction because you want to see those characters interact, then you're slowing down your story and you're ruining it for the audience. Again, audiences might not understand this, but they do recognize it. And when they see it, they will get bored even if they don't understand why. I just think it's something more creators, more writers need to be aware of when creating stories today. You cannot get so focused on a shiny, pretty idea if it's going to cost you smooth storytelling. Smooth acting will always be more important than iconography any day. And if your acting is smooth, if your writing is good, if your actors deliver their lines well, and if your story is believable and your audience is immersed, then a diamond will shine even in the mud. And it will become iconic on its own. Not because you drew focus to it, but because it worked. Anyway, I'm Song. This has just been a thought bubble. Let me know what you think down in the comments. I would love to talk to you about it. I should be back at some point, and hopefully as I do more of these videos, I'll get better at arranging my thoughts in a more understandable way. Thank you. Until next time, have a great day and take care. Bye-bye.